Cultural appropriation is what occurs when people borrow without attribution or steal outright other people's ideas, energies, inspirations, and get a bigger dividend on them, get a bigger drawdown on them, get a bigger compensation for them. You know, think about how Pat Boone would take the music of Little Richard and make the white version, watered down white version of the black song, and make millions more than Little Richard did. That's outright thievery. Now, he didn't literally steal it, but he stole the sound, he stole the music in the sense of a black version would never sell, would never appeal to a dominant white culture in the way that a white face putting forth the same lyrics would. So appropriation is tricky. We want people to take what we give and offer to the world, but we don't want them to rip it off. We don't want them to absorb it in a political economy of racism where the original creators are never acknowledged for their inspiring genius, and those who appropriate it are richly rewarded. I mean, so we've had a history of white appropriation of black and Latino and other people's culture.
And that's what makes it look like hip hop. You want to do hip hop, you got to stand like this.
Sharing is one thing, ripping off is another.
It's all in your attitude. It's right here in your faces and how you dress. It's the way you look. I want to tell you another thing that makes hip hop hip hop.
Celebrating and recycling the things that are ours in common is one thing, but monetizing and capitalizing on somebody else's oppression, pain, hurt, or creativity without acknowledging that source is something altogether different.
But then they know this right here is me.
So cultural appropriation is about the individual act of absorbing a particular idea backed up by a cultural intent to absorb the truth of another culture and then use its products against its own truth, or to tell a different story about the uses to which those talents, gifts, and skills can be put. And so appropriation has a number of consequences that may be seen as negative and problematic, or even absorbing the story of slavery, even absorbing the story of struggles against oppression, and then telling them with a white character at the heart or at the helm of that story. Because many white people don't want to hear a story about oppression or slavery or blackness or different cultures without white characters being major agents of either transformation or challenging the dominant white worldview that led ultimately to justice, because they can rarely stand to see themselves collectively as anything but heroes and heroines, saviors, and those who engage in uplifting and constructive work as opposed to degrading and destructive practices.